And welcome once again to another exciting edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. This is the Scoreboard Show, and this airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday starting at noon on Georgia Alabama Sports Live's Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm excited because this is a part of my 900th episode. A full episode is the full hour block that you can catch on WQEE Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. I'll go about 20 minutes. I'm going to run down all the scores from week 3 from the teams that we cover in the Chattahoochee Valley. And then don't forget, tomorrow's show, I'm going to talk college football, Braves, NFL preview. Thursday's show, I'm going to preview week 4. What an exciting time to be a sports fan. I hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. I know that it was a busy slate of games, especially on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We're going to go ahead and start with the game that we were at for high school game day, and this was the game of the week. Carver, Harris County, both teams coming into Hamilton, Georgia, 2-0 on the season. This was a rivalry renewed because 10 years ago, these two were region rivals as they were battling for top of the region. And this was one of those games where Harris County's physicality and the playmaking ability of Rian Ogletree ended up taking over. Harris County took the 12-0 lead. Carver did cut it to 12-6 when Jacoby Castlin got a big giant run to get the touchdown, and Harris County ended up getting a field goal to make it 15-6. Thurip Behringer and Rick Beach were on the call for Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and Harris County is now 3-0 on the season. They will travel down to Albany next week to face the 2-1 Doherty. So Harris County has never been 5-0 in the start of their history. Never been 5-0. So this is an opportunity. If they could beat Doherty, then they go on the road to take on Jonesboro, and they have a chance to make history. Meanwhile, Carver will be on a bye this week, but in 2 weeks, they're going to be hosting the Northside Patriots, as Northside is going to be traveling to Otis Spencer Stadium on September the 13th. And that's a matchup everybody in Columbus wants to see. I mean, in my opinion, the two top high schools in Columbus when it comes to football is Northside and Carver, and that's going to be an exciting matchup, and I can't wait for that in 2 weeks. I was down at Russell County. I was on the call on Georgia Alabama Sports Live along with Michael Peacock. Russell County, they took one on the chin to the Eufaula Tigers. These former region rivals last met in 2021, and Eufaula ended up beating them 41-10 during homecoming. Eufaula is led by their third-year head coach, Super Bowl winning Coach Jarrell Jernigan, who played a wide receiver for the New York Football Giants in the early 2010s. And he's got a young team, a lot of seniors left from that Eufaula team that made it to the 5A semifinal state championships. But Russell County, they were going back and forth. It was 21-21. It was a tight game in that first half. Devin Brown ended up having 3 touchdowns. He had a touchdown pass, a touchdown run, and a kickoff return for a touchdown. Bryson Riggins showed why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Alabama. He could throw the football. It's just that Russell County had a hard time trying to stop Eufaula because Eufaula had another dynamic quarterback in Ty McCoy, who was a dual threat quarterback. And that first play for Russell County, like when Eufaula ended up getting that touchdown off the deflection, I mean, that was shocking. And I know that me and Mike on the call couldn't believe that happened. But then the next play, Devin Brown returns it to the house for a kickoff return for a touchdown to make it 7-7. It was a fun game, a fun back-and-forth game, and great fan bases from both schools as Eufaula made the trip up Highway 431 to be in Seal and to have a great football game. And both teams are now 1-1. Eufaula, 1-1, will go face Montgomery Catholic, and Russell County will be on the road to face region opponent Wetumpka. All right, so moving on. This was probably the shocking game of the night. As I picked FPD to win this at high school game day. I think we all did. FPD, the defending 4A GIAA state champions. They were 2-0 coming to Dimal Field. Pacelli was 0-2. I mean, after getting shut out against Tatnall, they lost to Stratford in week 1. I just didn't think Pacelli had much of a chance. But for some reason, I think Coach Dwight Jones watches high school game day, and there's a possibility that we just gave him bulletin board material because Pacelli comes out, gets a huge win over First Presbyterian Day, and they are now 1-2 on the season. They will host the 3A public school Stone Mountain next week at Dimal Field. And by the way, high school game day will be there, and we will also simulcast that with Viking Live as Dave Plata will be on the call. We're excited to be at Pacelli for high school game day, and I know that that's going to be an exciting matchup. The Pacelli is taking on a public school. Another big shocker of the night. In fact, we were looking at the score, and look, I didn't see this coming. I know that Glenwood was a very good team in the AISA. A lot of people didn't know how they would fare in the AHSAA. Well, not only did they prove they belonged last week after getting the 1-point victory over Valley, coming back from 20 down, they go on the road to take on one of the top 1A schools in Alabama and have one of the best running backs in Alabama in Alvin Henderson. And they punch them in the mouth, 49-22. And Glenwood has proven that not only do they belong in the AHSAA, you got to start thinking of them as a possible, definitely playoff team, possible title contender. I mean, think about that. You beat a 5A school. You beat one of the top 1A schools. The sky's the limit for the Glenwood Gators. And for all the riders for the Alabama Riders Association that didn't give Glenwood any first place votes or any votes for that matter, along with Lee Scott, they didn't get any votes either. I don't know what you're basing this off of. You probably don't watch AISA football and have never seen Glenwood. Glenwood has proven that even at the private school level, just like in Georgia, you can compete with public schools. So what a big win for Glenwood. They are 2-0 on the season. They will travel on the road up in Sylacauga to take on Comer. This is going to be a region opponent. Comer went from 2A. They used to be a powerhouse in 2A. Because I remember they knocked off Lynette in the playoffs last year. Comer goes into 3A, and they are in Glenwood's region, and they are one of the top teams in 3A. So that's going to be a very exciting game. Cannot wait for that. How about the Hardaway Hawks? Wow. What a game. Congratulations to Coach Ryan McKenzie. Hardaway gets their first win of the season. They really should be 3-0. They had a close loss to Jackson. They lost by 1 to Booker T. Washington. And which trailed in this game, they were able to come back and get the 1-point victory. They'll have a very well needed bye. They're going to get a bye next week. And then in 2 weeks, September the 12th, Kinnett Stadium, their first region game, will be against their region rival. You know, they were in the same classification last year, the Shaw Raiders. So looking forward to that as well. How about the home debut of first-year head football coach of the Chatco Panthers, Coach Bruce Figgins, as they had no problem with the Jordan Red Jackets, 54-7. Chatco is now 1-2 on the season, so congratulations to Coach Figgins. Jordan, they're 0-2. They lost to Bremen. Now they lost to Chatco. It's really about developing your program and just continuing to get better. Jordan actually will go down to Dawson to take on Terrell County next week. So hopefully Jordan can find a way to get their first win of the season, actually first win in 4 years. Northside continuing to be one of the top teams in Columbus. Had no problem with Northgate. These were two region rivals. In fact, Northgate had the number 2 seed. Northside actually played Northgate last year up in Noonan, and Northgate ended up pulling that one out. Well, Northside's defense just put the clamps on Northgate, and it's not just Caden Clay throwing the football. It's the playmaking abilities of Kingston Rivers, not only in the backfield, but also as a receiver. And Kingston Rivers has really carried the Northside Patriots. They will host the Golden Tornadoes from Monroe. Next week, it will be at Kinnett Stadium. And then 2 weeks, they'll go down to Otis Spencer Stadium to take on the Carver Tigers. I cannot wait for that. You know, we're going to be hyping that game up. Trust me. All right, moving on. Calvary. They lost to Mount DeSales 7-6. I mean, the defense was there, but they just could not get some offense going. Mount DeSales end up getting the victory. Calvary is now 0-3. And hopefully Calvary knows that they've just got to continue to improve. They want to try to get some wins. And, being in the GIAA, you hit region play. You get to knock off a couple of wins here and there. You're looking at making the playoffs. And I know that Calvary, that is the goal. The opponents you're facing from the gaps to the GIAA, it's a lot different. It's a much higher level. But Calvary will have a couple of home games in a couple weeks. So they will take on Flint River Academy, and they will also take on Skipstone Academy, which will be the rematch of the GAPS championship last year. I still believe in what the Calvary Christian Knights are doing. Nate Osborne, a very good quarterback. Their defense has just been solid. Darnell Hamilton has been doing a good job leading that defense. I think that with that defense that Calvary has, they're going to be in many games this year. They just got to find a way to get that offense going. Shaw had a very rare home game at Otis Spencer Stadium, and they were taking on one of the top private schools over there in Athens. They sure know how to play football in Athens. I'm not talking about just the University of Georgia. I'm talking about like Prince Avenue Christian, and Athens Academy is another one of those schools that is one of the top private schools over in Athens. And they had no problem with the Shaw Raiders, 48-14. Shaw is now 1-2 on the season. They will go on a bye, and they will face Hardaway in 2 weeks. Columbus goes to 0-3. They lose to Randolph Clay 30-8. Another tough loss for the Columbus Blue Devils that just got to try to regroup and to try to get their first win of the season under first-year head football coach Robert Peters. Let's go ahead and talk some Thursday night action as Noah Shelton was on the call for Georgia Alabama Sports Live on Thursday. Crawford County ends up defeating the Kendrick Cherokees 24-7. Crawford County led 10-0 after 1, and then in that second half, Kendrick got the opening kickoff for a touchdown. It was 10-7, and Kendrick's defense held tough, but it was Crawford County that ended up pulling out the victory. Kendrick is now 1-2 on the season. Another Thursday night game that was down at Otis Spencer Stadium, the Spencer Green Wave. They took the 8-0 lead over Lovelet. Lovelet, one of the top private schools in Georgia. They just have too much offense, and they were able to get the 46-23 victory. Spencer is now 1-2 on the season. All right, going to the other side of the river. Is there a team that's hotter than the Central Red Devils? In fact, Max Preps has got them ranked 17th in the nation as they defeated Lutheran North, a pretty good team out of Missouri who won 6 state championships. But Central, it was close for a little bit. They were up 23-12. They did get a touchdown to pull away. And you got to remember, you got Andrew Alford, you got Dalen Upshaw. But how about the running back Tristan Williams? He doesn't really get talked that much because it's all about Andrew Alford and the receiving core. He had last year. You got Cam Coleman, who's now at Auburn, and you have Dylan Gentry, who's also at Auburn. You've had great receivers in the past like Justin Ross and Carmelo English, but you have Dalen Upshaw, very good receiver. He's been their top receiver. But Tristan Williams has really been carrying the load. And you look at what Central has. They are loaded. And, of course, they are going to be on the road, first road game this Friday, taking on Smith Station in the backyard brawl. And we got plenty of time to talk about that game and the rivalry as 4 miles of Opelika Road separate these two schools. But I'll get into that on Thursday's show. All right. Looking at some of the other games, Opelika is looking really good after getting a win over Benjamin Russell, 28-14 in week 1. They ended up taking on their rival, Callaway, that the last 2 times these two teams met 2 years ago, this game was a one-possession game. I think that Callaway is rebuilding, but I wouldn't write off Callaway just yet. They went 0-3 one year and still made the playoffs. Let's see how they do in region play. But they're facing really talented teams. This might be the best Opelika team yet. And I think that Opelika, which is now 2-0, they will face the Auburn Tigers this Friday, who are also 2-0. That's a potential for high school game of the week, I think. In fact, I would definitely think that would be high school game of the week. All right, how about the Beulah Bobcats? 2-0 on the season after beating Lynette. Beulah is in Glenwood's region, and they are looking pretty good. Remember, Glenwood will face Beulah on September the 20th. That's going to be up at Beulah. We're hoping to live stream that game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And finally, we just want to give a shout out to the Lee Scott Academy Warriors for getting the victory. They are also 2-0 on the season. So Lee Scott in the AHSAA defeated the Lochapoka Indians in Lochapoka. And Lochapoka has gone up to 2A. That's a very good win for the Lee Scott Academy Warriors. Some other games to note that I don't have a graphic for. Auburn had no problem with Vestivia Hills. They will face Opelika next week. It is the showdown of all showdowns, a huge rivalry game. LaGrange, they ended up losing to Sandy Creek 27-7. They have a rare Thursday night game at Callaway Stadium this week as they will face Trinity Christian because Callaway is hosting Cook out of Adele. And that is going to be at Callaway Stadium on Friday. And then Troup County is on the road taking on Whitewater. Troup County was actually on a bye this week. So a Thursday show, I am going to preview week 4 in high school football. But I'm excited. I want to thank Thrift Behringer for giving me this platform. This is part of my 900th episode. I'm really excited that you were able to join me for another edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge Scoreboard Show. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Don't forget that we've got high school volleyball later this afternoon. We've got Calvary and Brookstone. We've got the Harris County Coaches Show. We've got the Muskogee County Coaches Show tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we've got Glenwood Volleyball as they are taking on Beulah. And then we've got an incredible slate of high school football games this Friday night. And we will drop exactly where we are going to be on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live show. Thank you for tuning in, and hope you all have a great rest of your night.